Hello, my name is Stephanie Russell, and I'm going to introduce you to one of the most iconic women in the Old Testament. Her name is Ruth. She's a woman of humility and servanthood. Ruth was a Moabite who took charge of her life and made it to be one of the most joyous stories of the Old Testament. She met and married Mahlon, a Hebrew who came to Moab with his parents Elimelech and Naomi and his brother Chilion. She became a widow and escaped Moab with her mother-in-law Naomi and went to Bethlehem. She met and married Boaz, cousin of Mahlon, and had a child who became the father of Jesse, the father of David. Here you can see it on the map, the kingdom of Moab and the kingdom of Judah. And there you can see in the middle the path that they took to travel from Moab to Judah. The Moabites, according to the biblical account, came from Moab, who was the brother of Ammon, who were both born to Lot and Lot's elder and younger daughters, respectively, in the aftermath of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. The Moabites had many gods. This god Chemosh was the primary god of the Moabites. You can read about him in Numbers 21:29, Jeremiah 48:7, 13, and 46. Chemosh was the supreme Moabite deity who brought victory in battle when his people honored him properly, but allowed their enemies to prevail when they fell into sin. Chemosh worship was introduced into Israelite culture by King Solomon, who had wives from other cultures who turned his heart to other gods. Let's look at the relationship of Ruth and Naomi, and here I believe is where the iconic turn in her life happened. Naomi tells Ruth and Orpah, her other daughter-in-law, to return home. Orpah returns, but Ruth refuses. She tells Naomi, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." Ruth 1:16 and 17. Ruth and Naomi leave Moab and travel to Bethlehem. Ruth understood the risk she was taking and the fact that she would be an alien in Judah. Ruth and Naomi arrive in Bethlehem, where Ruth works in the fields gathering barley. Ruth meets Boaz, the cousin of her husband, while she is working in his barley fields. After Naomi had told friends about how wonderful Ruth was by taking care of her, word had reached Boaz, and he extended protection to her and ordered his workers to drop grains of barley in front of her. After Naomi heard what Boaz had done, she came up with a scheme for both Ruth and Boaz to get married. Ruth, with courage and humility, followed Naomi's plan, which was culturally correct but risky. She offered herself as wife to Boaz, and it worked. Boaz, with honor, did what was right as next of kin to Mahlon, his cousin. The entire community approved of the match and celebrated their union. Even though Ruth was a Moabite, the community pronounced a blessing on them because they knew that she had turned from her wicked ways. With the blessing came the evoking of the names of the matriarchs, Rachel and Leah. God rewarded Ruth with the gift of a husband and a son. Naomi found peace for her grief from the loss of her husband and sons in her grandson Obed. When Ruth had her first son Obed, all of her female friends rejoiced with Naomi. They praised Ruth as being better for Naomi than if she had 7 sons. For a woman whose story started out so bleak, she was extremely blessed with a wonderful family. Who would have known that the Lord would have used a woman with a pagan background to be part of Jesus' family bloodline? The name Obed means serving or worshiping. He became the grandfather to the founder of the royal bloodline of Israel, from which Christ himself took human flesh in the same city of Bethlehem. Ruth is the perfect role model for faith, loyalty, and strength. In Moab, it was her faith that she found. With Naomi, it was her loyalty that she stuck with Naomi. With Boaz, her husband, and her family, she found her strength. What can we as a society learn from Ruth? Well, as women ourselves, as single women, we can learn that as long as we have faith in the Lord, that He will bless us with everything we need. As daughters, we can learn how to take care of our mothers. As wives, we can learn to be loyal, strong, and supportive for our husbands. As mothers, we can learn to trust in the Lord to protect and pray for our children. As men and women as a whole, for everyone, the story of Ruth is a perfect illustration of how God's covenant society, also known as Israel, ought to operate for the needy. Ruth shows us how, as a society, the formal structures of authority are male, but in which the woman exercises considerable power within the household, which is the main economic and social unit of society. Ruth can play an important part for both men and women alike by opening up different ways of reading the rest of the biblical story, or the Bible. In conclusion, may God bless you, and I hope that you've learned something new about Ruth. Again, my name is Stephanie Russell, and this is Survey of the Old Testament, Research on Ruth, on October 12th, 2018.